Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and today I'd like to talk about the sequel to Man of Steel and some lingering questions that were left over after the first movie that I'd like to see resolved, if not in the sequel, at least somewhere down the line. And the first and foremost that I'm going to talk about is the elephant in the room, the destruction of Metropolis. You know, there's that whole sort of segment that's like flatbed ash and everything, where basically when Zod crashes back down and he takes on Superman, you know, toward the end of the film, once all the rest of the evil Kryptonians have been sucked back into the Phantom Zone or what have you, it looks like they could turn that whole sort of widespread area into a memorial park. That was kind of the first thing that came to mind for me because of how wide the area is, and sort of how they did after 9/11. You know, they made that area where the towers were kind of a memorial place, a junction for all the people who had been lost. You know, you could go and commemorate them and stuff like that. I think that would be a really sweet way to do it. I would love to hear, because the only lacking thing for Man of Steel for me in watching it again and again after I've finally gotten it on DVD is that we just skip over that entirely. Like, we don't hear anything about cleanup. We don't hear anything about losses. And I'm really hoping that they touch on this in the opening segments of this sequel, whatever it shall be titled. There's still, as yet, as of the time of this recording, no official title. It's been said Batman vs. Superman or a whole bunch of other titles. And unless it's something like Superman World's Finest or Man of Steel World's Finest, or maybe Man of Steel Enter the Night, as in K-N-I-G-H-T, for the Dark Knight, you know, there aren't many names that I'm really that happy with. Another big lingering question for me is what happened to Dr. Emil Hamilton, and is it Colonel or General Hardy? I forget off the top of my head. They flew that sort of airship into, the Kryptonian's vessel to destroy it toward the end of the film. And one might presume, knowing loosely the history of Emil Hamilton in the comics, that he can return potentially as a baddie, that kind of thing. And I would love to see them go that route. I'd love to see Richard Schiff back and actually playing the antithesis of what his character was in this movie, sort of a helpful scientist guy, compassionate and wanting to help save the world, to becoming this ruthless villain. That would be quite interesting, and it would be cool to see his taking that on as an actor. But also, Hardy, it's like, could they both have been sucked into the Phantom Zone, where they both sort of, just nuclearized, exploded to atoms and that kind of thing? I don't know, remains to be seen. But I do hope that we pick up on that thread at some point. Did anyone else notice that the guy, the scientist, sort of military scientist guy who was left to watch the computers at the ground zero where they found the sort of sunk under ice for 18,000 years Kryptonian vessel, is the same guy who not only shows up in Green Lantern, the movie, as Hal Jordan's best pal, but he also played Dr. Emil Hamilton on the TV series Smallville, which is kind of funny and kind of cool, in a similar vein to how Amy Adams, pre being Lois Lane in this movie series, was sort of the antithesis of Matter Eater Lad on Smallville. So I love little nods like that, and I love little sort of connections like that. The other thing is, of course, the little hints here and there, Bruce Wayne, Lex Luthor. Are they going to pick up right away with that, or are we going to sort of ease into it in the sequel and that kind of thing? What I think is interesting is, as of the time of this recording, there are rumors abounding about a ton of different DCU characters that are going to be appearing in this, and I've been very apprehensive about that. But I think if they adhere to this being very much a Superman sequel, a Man of Steel sequel, where Superman himself is kind of the centerpiece, and what he did in the first movie would be serving as sort of a level of hope to all of these other sort of underground heroes like Batman, who is said to have been around for a while. Maybe it's sort of through the symbolism of what Superman was able to do that he's the first that really did it out in the sunlight, and this will make all these other heroes take note and come out of hiding. Like, of course, Diana, Wonder Woman, who is said to be in the film and everything like that. And I think that's very interesting, thinking of this sequel, whatever it shall be titled, being centerpieced around Superman himself. No matter how many heroes end up showing up, and I hope it's not a field day, I hope it's not just a complete, crazy melee of heroes and villains and everything like that. But I think if he is the focus as to why all these heroes are coming out of the woodwork and deciding to make themselves public or known or what have you, this would serve the character respectfully enough that I'd be okay swallowing the rest of it. And as I say, those lingering questions, I am curious about if they're going to pick up with them at a future time. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you have any lingering questions of your own that I haven't touched on in Man of Steel, going into a whole new sort of DCC universe, what might they be, and how would you like to see them answered? So yeah, otherwise that'll be it for me. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you later. Peace.